finally done. It's finally here. StarCourt Mall is finished. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Jack here, and today I'm showing you my largest and most ambitious Stranger Things creation yet. This is an interior snapshot from the season finale of Season 3 of Stranger Things. That was very repetitive, but this is the Battle of StarCourt Mall. Now, the reason why I say this is my most ambitious project in the Stranger Things series is mainly because I had to design not only the Mind Flayer, but a car. And you guys know I don't like building cars. I'm horrible at them. Voice crack. But that's the sheer beauty of this thing. It's not only just the Battle of StarCourt Mall, but you can take away the broken down car, the Mind Flayer, and this thing converts directly into just StarCourt Mall in general. There's working lights in all of the shops. Because of that, it's not hard to recreate any shot from Season 3. You can pretty much do anything here. But because I had to do that, I have to divide this video up into two separate parts. The first part is me walking you through all of the Battle of StarCourt stuff, and the second part is just a tour of the shops and what makes this StarCourt Mall. But with that being said, let's not ramble on anymore. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and let's take a tour. The thing you'll notice right off the bat if you have eyeballs is of course the Mind Flayer right in the middle of the mall. This thing was incredibly tough to design because it's a flesh monster, and obviously I don't design a whole lot of those things. My specialty is in buildings, structures, and interior spaces, kind of like this MOC, so building this really pushed me out of my comfort zone and had me experimenting with a lot of parts I don't normally use, and because of that effort and extra effort I had to put in, I won't be taking this thing apart. I love it too much. It's pretty accurate, although it could be a little bit better with the colors and such. But just so you know, I will be doing a how-to kind of on this, so stay tuned for that. But this beast of a Mind Flayer sits on top of the lobby area, which is the place where you have the fountain, the marble flooring, the planter boxes, and all the benches that people sit at. Basically, this is just the central meeting area if you're not in an actual store. I tried to go with a very ornate color scheme with the sand green and the white because I feel like it looks very marbly, if that makes any sense. That continues on with the columns, and those stairways lead up to just the other portions of the mall where you can go visit, like the stores and the food court. This food court is actually the place where the car that Eleven used to wipe out the Russians is. It crashed into a food bar to who knows what restaurant, but basically the addition of this food bar, which actually connects to the Burger King and all the kitchenware, allowed me to create a realistic scene where the red car that is actually in StarCourt Mall crashes against the food bar, and they actually have to flip it over to get the ignition cable. You can see a bit of the destruction it caused with the fallen StarCourt sign, a couple of the planter boxes being broken, some chairs knocked over, and of course the car being damaged itself. And that food bar is actually incredibly simple. I won't go into too much detail because I don't have time to, but you can always check out some shots on my Instagram. Cheesy plug there, I know. But one thing I will mention is that this does actually have a custom-made oven. I didn't want to take the lazy way out and do what I always do and include a pre-made piece. I actually went through and designed that. As we begin the stores though, I'm going to take a trip across the mall because I want to start with Scoops Ahoy. This thing is basically just a miniature version of my full-scale MOC. You can check that out in the top right-hand corner, but I had a lot of fun designing this on such a smaller scale. I also got to use some custom printed pieces from Minifigures.me. That sign is absolutely amazing. I'm fully in love with it. But without going into too much depth here, you can see the striped wall along the back, the ice cream, and of course all the red chairs with the pearl gold lining. Everything that makes this Scoops Ahoy is here, including the lights and the tiled flooring. Again, if you want to see a fully minifigure scaled version of this, I will leave a link down below. But directly next to that is a store inspired by Radioshack, and the reason I included this was just because when I went to Gwinnett Place Mall and got a peek at the StarCourt Mall set, that was one of the shops I saw, so I had to include it here and as a memorial to Bob. But when you look inside here, you can see all kinds of 80s technology, and the reason I dumped everything in here from TVs to monitors to boomboxes instead of just audio equipment was to have a central place where I could dump all this kind of very vintage technology in one place. It's got shelves on the front and back, of course the aisle in the middle with some TVs, boomboxes, and of course some records because those things weren't completely gone in the 80s. And that tile was actually sent to me by Avaki, so thank you, man. I finally put it to use. Moving on down from that, you can actually take a trip to the clothing store, which is inspired by the Gap, and the reason I included this was just because Mike, Elle, and Max hid inside of here. Trust me, I'm not too keen on building clothing stores because they can be kind of boring, especially looking for torsos and, you know, things that match. But the cool thing about this is that it has some spinny clothes things. I don't know what they're called, but they're basically just clothing displays that spin so you can take a look at all the clothes. I don't know. I must say I'm in love with the color scheme here. The pink flooring with the tan walls just really speaks to me. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. And directly next to that store is a pair of escalators, and this will actually take you up to the second floor. I won't move on to that yet because there still is one more store down here, which is inspired by Burger King. I can't actually call this thing a regular Burger King because the colors aren't right. Unfortunately, I had to save all my red when building this for the Mind Flayer. I was going to tackle that last. So to be as cautious as I could, I did not use any red parts until I got to the Mind Flayer. Kind of. I did a couple times, but not a whole lot. You can see there's a couple booths here. Of course, the checkout counter or the ordering counter with the menu on the wall, a cash register, and basically all the necessities like the trash can for a fast food restaurant. And instead of actually making a separate kitchen, I just made this connect to the food bar. Maybe that's where the kitchen is. I don't know. I don't think it was the Burger King food bar in the actual show. But yeah, that's basically just what I did. Back to the escalators though, you can see I used a snot technique to actually put some cheese wedges on a plate, and then I angled that to make the steps for the escalator, and that will take you directly up to the second floor, which also has more stores and of course more marble and just a bunch more StarCourt. If you go directly to the left, you'll be taken directly to the toy store. That's a lot of directlies, but the toy store is there. To make this feel poppy and really invite you in to buy a toy or a Lego set or something like that, I used lime green and orange because those really jump out at you. Inside here, it's very small. There's only a couple shelving units with some toys on it, like some Lego sets, of course a dinosaur, some Matchbox cars. And the reason it's so cramped in here is just because I didn't have a whole lot of space when I put the walkway on. In fact, I think this place is even smaller than the bathroom. But the store next to this on the other side of the escalators is the Jazzercise Studio, or basically just the place where Steve and Dustin thought a Russian was going into, but it turned out to be a yoga instructor. I don't know. It was pretty funny, but I had to include it here just because I thought that scene was kind of humorous. You can see quite a few yoga mats on the floor, and of course the boombox that plays all those tunes, so you can really get moving, ladies. Next to that, kind of propped up in the corner, is another StarCourt sign, and this one is actually not fallen down. It is another print from Minifigs.me, and it does look amazing. I'm glad I got these things. It's on 2x4 tiles, and you have one half on the other and one half on the other side. It's extremely quality printing. I 10 out of 10 recommend you go check it out. They are amazing. And actually, to complement those, I should have mentioned this before, but there are some custom minifigures in this build. 3 of them are custom printed. They're actually from Minifigs.me as well. There's Steve and Robin from Scoops Ahoy, and Billy just from anywhere, I guess. The Hawkins Pool, we'll say that. Now, the other minifigures I custom painted, and I was going to do the full lineup of everybody that was in the Battle of StarCourt, but unfortunately, time got the best of me and I wasn't able to do everyone. But there is Lucas, because he was the one that orchestrated the firework attack against the Mind Flayer. There is Max, because she had to mourn the loss of Billy. And of course, there's 11. I couldn't forget her, and I made this figure about 2 weeks ago, something like that. Maybe a bit longer, but I'm in love with this figure. I'm extremely happy I was able to make it, and it's probably my favorite. But back up top, there is a bathroom, so you can actually take a leak in case the Mind Flayer is taking too long to die or something. You maybe just gotta go. There's a couple urinals, of course the main sink, which is actually a 2-man sink. It's one of those things where you have multiple faucets, but one giant tub. It's one of those weird things. And a half-completed stall. Speaking of half-completed, the next shop over is not one that I actually did complete. Unfortunately, my parts collection ran really dry at this point. This was the last thing I did. So instead of actually making this a working store, I made this one that's under renovation, or it's being constructed, something like that. But the store directly next to it is actually one that's inspired by Walden Books, which is another 80s store. This is basically just a place where you go to get all your books, all your comic books, basically just things like that, so you can sit down, relax on the couch, and have a good read. But that will pretty much cover it for this MOC. I know I had a lot to say in such a short amount of time, but I had to keep it simple here because otherwise I could go on forever. But I will be doing more in-depth videos on some things like the Mind Flayer, and if you have anything else you want to see, let me know and I can do a tutorial or something like that. But that is it. Make sure to go check out Avaki and Ty's rendition of this MOC. I'm not sure if they'll be out at the time of this recording, but do give them a watch. And if you want to see more Stranger Things MOCs, I will link some down below, including my first StarCourt Mall, which is actually just the full thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, and I will see you in the next one. And take care.